If you could take your seats, please. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be back in Claremont Hall. And I just realized that the first section I ever taught has its reunion. So it's incredible. It's crazy. I don't know how I survived those guys, but I did it. It's awesome. So welcome. My name is Karim Lakhani, faculty member here at HBS. Been here 17 years. And it's a real treat to be here with you. I think the Dean, Shrikant, set the stage for all the things that we're doing about AI. I'm going to try to make this a bit of some work and research I've been doing on AI, make it interactive a bit with you guys as well. Need your feedback on a few things. And then we'll talk a little bit about the institute that we have just launched here as well, and invite you to engage with us on that as well. So the title is Competing in the Age of AI. I think it's based on a book that I wrote with Marco Ianciti, who's also a colleague here. The book came out in 2020, January, just before these events that we've all forgotten that happened to all of us. And I think we were ahead of our time, with the title at least. You will judge if the content is useful or not, but certainly with the title, we felt like we were trying to make sense of the world in this way. And so what I want to do, though, is sort of take you back to 1992, okay? And I'm going to show you some commercials that were airing at that time, so this is almost 30 years ago. As you watch these commercials, just keep track of what they got right and what they got wrong, okay? And the quality of the commercials is like from 1992, okay?
Have you ever borrowed a book from thousands of miles away? Across the country?
Gesture ahead. Take next exit.
Without stopping for directions?
Alternate route 101.
Or sent someone a fax? From the beach? You will. And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T. Have you ever paid a toll without slowing down? Bought concert tickets from cash machines? Or tucked your baby in from a phone booth? You will. And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T. Have you ever opened doors?
I'm home.
With the sound of your voice? Your card, please. Carried your medical history in your wallet? Your wife's gonna be just fine.
So this is where we stand on the atrium.
Or attended a meeting?
I really like what you guys have been doing, but
in your bare feet?
I may have a few other ideas.
You will. And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T.
Okay, what do you guys think? I think they got the future right 30 years ago, right? 30 years ago, they predicted the future, except for AT&T. Now, just know, these commercials came on Sunday morning shows, right? So, when there were only 4 or 5 TV channels, 1992, right? There weren't that many TV channels, so lots of people watched these shows. And the interesting thing about these commercials is that probably the board saw this, the C-suite saw this. The chief marketing officer was phenomenal to get Tom Selleck to come and do the commercials, right? And they predicted the future perfectly. And you wonder, like, what was happening inside the organization where they perfectly predicted the future, but none of it came true for them, right? People like you guys were in those organizations at that time. All right, so, nobody's off the hook here, come on. So we can laugh at them, but, there were probably some HBS alums in there. Of course, the future was not brought by AT&T. It was brought by sort of these companies. And by the way, if you go to YouTube and sort of look for these commercials, there's like 20 minutes of these commercials. And every single thing that we take for granted today, they predicted perfectly. The form was off, like, phone booths, right, and so forth. But the function was perfectly predicted. Okay? But what brought this future were these types of companies in front of us. And there are three things about these companies that you should pay attention to. The first is, of course, they're digital through and through. Second is they have AI at the core of the operations that they do. And the third is that they go to market in terms of ecosystems, right? Instead of being vertically integrated. Many of them are on platforms, and they work that way. And that logic of platforms, digital through and through, AI at the core, has been a new logic that has basically emerged in the last 20 years. And so it's worth it to sort of think about what this all means for us as we enter this century and this age of AI. And so my favorite quote is from William Gibson. He's a great sci-fi author. The future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed yet, right? And this is an important skill to have, to sort of look around you, see companies, see cultures, see people living in the future, doing things that seem weird outside of your industry, and go, I wonder if this is the future, and what does it mean for us to bring it back, right? And so this exercise is just a useful tool to look around and build your own sensibility of what it means to be inhabiting the future and actually inventing the future as well. And so now I want to sort of time travel with me to June 2003, right? So about 20 years ago. The reality is most MBA students today they were like toddlers or something. Like when I talk about this, they're like, what are you talking about? But I think you guys can go back, right, to 2003, right? And just think about what was happening in the world and what kind of companies existed, what you guys cared about, what you imagined the future to be, right? And certainly the stock market, this is from Wikipedia, basically showed, one software company, Microsoft, $264 billion valuation. But conglomerates, GE, I started my career at GE, and I'm gutted that GE is no longer relevant as a company, right? GE as a conglomerate was number 2, oil and gas, Walmart, healthcare, banking, J&J, and so on and so forth. I think the big headline was like AOL and Time Warner were going to merge. Remember that? That was the big merger conversation. And so this is the era there. And now if you sort of take your older self and talk to your younger self, there's some things you'd be saying to this person, this younger person, right? That there are companies that are worth trillions of dollars, not just billions, but trillions of dollars in market cap. There are companies that effortlessly serve billions of users, right? That we came out of a 2.5 year or whatever long pandemic where we were trapped in our basements, right? And our attics and our bathrooms, and yet the world of business went on and even thrived. If you had told that to yourself in 2003, that this is possible, you would say, this sounds like science fiction. And then equally important, the two companies, one in Berlin, one in Germany, and one here about a mile away from here, Moderna, BioNTech and Moderna, came up with this new revolutionary drug technology that solved the vaccine problem for COVID in basically 6 months' time. 6 months' time, right? And if you remember at the start of the pandemic, most of the traditional manufacturers for vaccines were saying years. And these guys did it in 6 months' time. And so it sounds like science fiction, but we've basically edged ourselves into this world in just 20 years, right? And if you sort of take that perspective, then we're sort of already living in the future, right? We're already living in the future. And the numbers are stunning, right? Of course, market cap isn't everything, right? But it's something, right? 2 trillion, 2 trillion, 2 trillion, 1.5 trillion, 1.2 trillion, almost a trillion, half a billion, half a billion, half a billion, half a billion. Okay, and besides Aramco and Hathaway, Berkshire Hathaway, everybody else is a digital AI native company, everybody has sort of, our pension funds, your investments, our hedge funds are betting on these companies for the future. Okay? And so this is the world we're in now. And it's hard to ignore this and what it means for all of you individually, for your careers, for the companies you're part of, but also for us as a community and also for HBS as well. And so when we think about these types of companies, they seem to follow what has been described as exponential processes in terms of their growth, in terms of their ability to gain customers and their ability to scale. Right? And this great book by Azim Azhar, The Exponential Age, really gets at a bunch of technologies and how they're impacting society. And Azim's main argument here is to say that there's a bunch of technologies that grow exponentially, a bunch of organizations that grow exponentially with them, and then there's the rest of us. And the rest of us grow linearly, right? And that creates a massive gap, right? We're feeling this gap today in many of our organizations, right? So I keep telling the dean, he doesn't listen to me, right? Our biggest competitor is not Stanford or MIT or Wharton or Chicago or whatever, right? They're irrelevant to our competitor set. Our competitor is LinkedIn Learning, right? With 300 million people on LinkedIn Learning alone. We have 300 million people, right? And so it depends what game you want to play. There's a set of companies that are playing in this exponential game, and then the rest of us that grow linearly, and that creates issues for all of us. And that's what we're going to try to unpack. What does this mean? What kind of company can grow this way? How do we then think about the consequences for us going forward? So we talk about this age of AI, and I first want to sort of put this into context. This is a portrait that was, of course, is an AI talk, so of course created by AI. For those of you that are art historians or took art classes, I was an engineer, so I had no idea. But this is a early Rembrandt, but it was generated by a machine. Okay, and so let's just watch a few minutes of a video that sort of showed how this Rembrandt came about. And as you watch this video, and you see the process that they followed, right? It's the same process that undergoes much of what happens inside of organizations for machine learning systems as well. Okay.
One of Rembrandt's great achievements was to portray human emotions in a much more convincing way than artists had before him, and in many ways for all time.
At ING, we believe in the power of innovation, what it can mean to people. We want to bring this innovative spirit to our sponsorship of Dutch art and culture. We knew that for this challenge, we needed to team up with experts from various fields to make this come to life.
We're using a lot of data to improve business life. But we haven't been using data that much in a way that touches the human soul. You could say that we use technology and data like Rembrandt used his paints and his brushes to create something new.
The first step was to study the works of Rembrandt in order to create an extensive database. We gathered the data from his collection of paintings from many different sources, including 3D scans and upscale images using a deep learning algorithm. Because a significant percentage of Rembrandt paintings were portraits, we analyzed the demography of the faces in these paintings, looking at factors like gender, age, and head direction. The data led us to the conclusion that the subject should be a portrait of a Caucasian male with facial hair between 30 and 40 years old, in dark clothing with a collar, wearing a hat, and facing to the right. From there, we started to extract features only with faces that were related to that specific profile.
And we had to create a whole painting from just data. And we used statistical analysis and various algorithms to extract the features that make Rembrandt Rembrandt.
We took parts of the face and we started to compare them. And then, based on this, we're able to create a typical Rembrandt eye or nose or mouth or ear. After generating the features, we were focusing on the face proportions. We used an algorithm that can detect over 60 points in a painting. We were able to align the faces and to estimate the distance between the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and the ears.
A painting is not a 2D picture, it's 3D. You can see the canvas, you can see the process, and that's what makes the painting come alive. A hive map is essential to make the painting a painting.
We incorporated the height map into the painting and printed on a 3D printer that uses a special paint-based UV ink. It printed many layers, one on top of the other, which resulted in the height and texture of the final painting.
It's sometimes a magical moment to see a painting for the first time. Even if it's computer generated, for me it is something special. I would have believed if I saw it in a museum that it would have been a real Rembrandt, just one I haven't seen before.
You can see, right? This is exactly what happens inside of organizations when you want to do data analytics. Now it's being applied to the world of art, and we'll go a bit deeper. This was about 6-7 years ago. It was a project funded by Microsoft, happened out of TU Delft in the Netherlands. Those three guys were the main engineers behind it. They have no art training. They just took the images and then created this thing. When I encountered this image, it really haunted me, but then I was giving a seminar, a talk in Australia, and I showed this image and I asked the question at the time, said like, who is the painter behind this portrait? And the gentleman raised their hand and said, oh, that's a Rembrandt. Oh, how do you know it's a Rembrandt? Well, you know, it's got the style, this direction, all the things they said. I've never seen this before, he said, but it's a Rembrandt. Sir, but how are you so convinced? Well, because I did my PhD on Rembrandt. I'm the curator of the Australian Portrait Gallery. So like, okay. So he had some street cred. And then he was stunned as well when he saw the videos, like, oh my God. And so the reaction in the world was, you know, this one, AI just 3D printed a brand new Rembrandt, is shockingly good. And then my favorite reaction is the digital Rembrandt, a new way to mock art made by fools. Okay. Now this reaction is the reaction that's going to happen in all your organizations, right? Both your employees, your managers, your C-suite, your board especially, okay? Right? And then also your customers, right? This is the thing you expect. As more and more AI gets deployed inside of our organizations, and as new organizations come up that are AI native in many ways, okay? And so let's just think about this in terms of how do we contextualize this AI era, okay? There's been about 4 waves of AI. Between the first and second waves, there have been these AI winters. There was an era of cybernetics, okay? Then trained experts, expert systems, some of you may remember. Then what started in 2000s out of Google, Facebook, Amazon, and so forth, good learners. Lots of data available, breakthroughs in computation, breakthroughs in algorithms, and we started to use machine learning without knowing it. So when you use Netflix, you were using machine learning. When you were using Waze, you were using machine learning. When you were using Amazon, you were using machine learning. But it was in the plumbing, right? 20 years of that, amazing progress. That was the system that basically built the next Rembrandt. And today, we're in this generative systems wave now, okay? Generative systems, and we'll talk more about that. And what these do is that this has happened again, this ongoing trend of lots of data, amazing compute. NVIDIA, why didn't I buy the stock before? NVIDIA, right? Through the roof, because they're the ones that are now becoming like sole supplier of GPUs and so forth. And then, of course, AI algorithmic advances as well. All these things converge. And then the interesting thing is that the application space is jumping across the board. So the same technologies that have sort of enabled these image diffusion models, right, are also helping us find better proteins. Okay, it's exactly the same technology, right? So this is my colleague, Armin McRatchen at Flagship Pioneering. I spent a bunch of time with him thinking about AI-first companies in life sciences. And this is like, he uploaded his image and got all these nice avatars come through. But the same technology enables brand new protein creation that have never existed before, right? Reinforcement learning and the core technology, right? AlphaGo, amazing, right? Helps us really understand what's going on within the context of exploring the chemical landscape. Again, that would matter for a pharma company. And then similarly, large language models, which we'll be talking about. Again, you can read the entire literature, figure out different ways to go after things, okay? So this ability to take cute solutions, avatars, playing Go, right? Creating your recipe can now be applied to serious problems as well, okay? And that's the leap that has been not anticipated by most of us, okay? And then art generation today. So who's been on Midjourney? Anybody been on Midjourney? Raise your hands, a few of you. So let's go, and I'm just gonna go, this is like risky, right? Like, I'm gonna do a live demo. So let's see what happens, okay? So first, I'm gonna use this service called Poe, which has a Midjourney bot. So I'm gonna, let's see, a portrait in the style of Rembrandt, right? Let's do that. Right. Featuring, so misspelled. Okay. Featuring a Harvard Business School alum at their, let's do 15th reunion. At their 15th reunion. You know, classic Rembrandt. See, I can't even spell Rembrandt style. And then trying to look hip. Why not? Okay. Please work. Waiting. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Great. So we got this. Okay. I got this prompt. I'm going to take this prompt properly, and I'm going to. Let's make sure I get it properly. There we go. And I'm going to copy it. Okay. Then I'm going to go into my Midjourney bot because I'm not good at prompts yet. Okay. And I'm going to put this prompt in. Okay. And we're going to start this prompt. Okay, so it's going to do the little thing. We're going to wait, a few seconds. Have some patience. Let's talk about the coffee here. I'm still surprised that we don't serve Dunkin' Donuts on campus. It's just like, so it's doing some stuff here. You can see, you'll see it come through. Let's see. Okay, you can see the image is being created in front of your eyes. So what you saw before, right? Several months of effort with lots of people. I'm going to try to sort of create something very fast in front of your eyes as it happens. So 46%. Now, look, it's already biased. It's showing dudes and white dudes at that. So we got to fix them. Now, of course, that could be prompt. I could have sort of said multicultural, so on and so forth, and it will respond to that. But its baseline is to be biased. All right, so when it thinks about you guys, it sort of imagines you in. Or did I lose it? Where did it go? There we go. It imagines you guys in. This is you. So, by the way, this is what the world's knowledge thinks about HBS MBA graduates, and I kind of not too hipster either. Like I asked them to be hipster, and I don't know. But you got the thing like twisted a bit. Looking at you, I should have asked you to be wearing a hat and so forth. But right, seconds, right. 6 years ago, months of effort, lots of activity. Now, boom, done. And if you sort of look around, what's fascinating is, just the Discord is amazing to see, right? So you can see all the different things people create, right? Ultra realistic. Well, let me just make it bigger so you guys can see some of these images here. It's just fascinating, the stuff that gets generated. And all of this is computer generated in the moment, right? Somebody's doing still life. Look at that. That's pretty stunning, right? In the same era. Right? Okay? So, and again, this same technology we can do to proteins. Same technology. Okay? Applied over. Is this good? Like, you guys are so quiet. Are you stunned? Yeah. Now, all your kids are already on this. So you guys better get your kids to help you, right? Because they're already like far down. They're doing their homework on this thing. We'll see, blah, 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 right? It's like that thing is already gone. Okay, so let me get back to my presentation. So just to take the studyingness away and get back to more boring stuff. Okay, so again, this is the exponential age, right? This is the exponential age that we're talking about. That in 6 years' time, you get this kind of photorealistic stuff coming out at scale, available for free almost. I pay $20 a month for Midjourney access. So let's put this back into context. There's a ton of hype around AI. And so I want to provide you with an economic framework to understand why this is the case. Okay? From an economic perspective, two things are happening simultaneously. The first thing is that people are reimagining every single problem as an AI problem. Driving, dentistry, surgery, medicine, you name it, everything is an AI problem, right? So we're recasting everything as an AI problem, and that's important to understand, that the world's imagination is saying, how could I apply AI here? How could I apply AI here? How could I recast this problem? And just to put this in context, a century ago, electricity was the AI, right? And we were thinking about how do you apply electricity to a whole bunch of things. And so, like, if you sort of, especially in Asia, right, there's all these great sliding doors everywhere. All the doors are automatic. You just walk in, it's like, shh, feels like the future. Here, we still have to crank handles at our doors and so forth. We still want the tradition of, like, heavy doors are important for us. It matters. But what happened? Like, people decided that opening doors is not a mechanical human effort problem. It's an electrical problem. Right? And then everything is cast that way, and we solved it through electricity. And the funny thing that happened to me was, my mom lives in Toronto. She's got a 20-year-old Camry, right, that she drives once in a while. I'm trying to get her to use Uber more, but she still likes to drive. So my daughter, who's 19 now, right, we were up there 5 years ago, and we went for a drive, and it was hot in Toronto, and she's like trying to find the button to get the windows to come down. And I'm like, honey, you got to crank. You got to crank. She's like, what? Right? Because for her, she's like, everything is electric. Like, the car windows are electric. How could it be that you have a mechanical solution? Because we thought of the problem in that way. So first thing, everything's being recast as an AI problem. Second thing is the cost to innovate with AI has dropped like a rock. It continues to drop. So when you have these two things happening simultaneously, cost to innovation with AI has dropped substantially, and everything's being recast, you have this big economic boom and lots of hype. Lots of startups, lots of companies, established companies trying to make sense of this, okay? And so what do we mean by definitions? What do we mean actually by AI? Right, two definitions out in the literature. The left one is about science fiction, right? So far. Right, which is autonomous beings doing their own thing. And the right definition, which is known as strong AI, the right definition is all about any activity computers are able to perform that humans once performed. That's it. Super simple, helps us figure this out. Okay? Most of the action in the last 20 years, and now is still in the weak AI side. Right? Algorithms being applied at scale. Statistics at scale. I think about it as that. All right? And so this book that I wrote with Marco basically said, look, we can't just be about technology, right? Even though I'm in the technology and operations management group, it's really about its application in business, right? So I tell the dean, when one of our guest alum, Stephen Schwarzman, gave a ton of money to MIT, right, to set up the College of Computing, there were like lots of long faces here, like, oh my God, how could it be, blah, 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 blah. And I said, it's the best news ever for HBS. Maybe not so much for Harvard, for HBS though, because all of a sudden MIT is going to take care of the technical labor. They're going to create all the boffins we want that understand this stuff, right? And all we need to do here at HBS is to get our students and our alums comfortable with what's going on and think about its application and make a ton of money and have a good impact too. I was like, it was super clear, like, come on. The labor, and it's only a mile away. If you'd only break out of our bubble, right? It's only a mile away. With Uber, it's faster, right? It's great, right? And so that's the thing. And our whole perspective in the book is, let's think about this from a business perspective. From a business perspective, you want to think about the architecture of the business, and there's a business model, value creation and value capture, and then an operating model, right? How you deliver the value to your business, and here we think about scale, how you serve many customers, scope, what you offer them, and then learning how you improve, right? That's what a business is all about, and we see systematic application of AI and digital platforms in companies. So a great example, another example from China, this company, JD Digits, was asked by the Chinese government to create services and offerings in the agriculture space. They looked around, they said, oh, 700 million pigs are being raised in China, we can maybe offer insurance. Very quickly they realized that the cost to just count every single pig would be astronomical in terms of people, right? 700 million pigs. And then how will you know that which pig has been insured properly, right? Are you going to do genetic testing? It's crazy. So they said, facial recognition. So you see this thing on the bottom right? They took off-the-shelf facial recognition software from your iPhone and said, can we apply it to pigs? And guess what? It works, right? Pigs, and also I've just learned chickens can be uniquely identified through facial recognition. A little bit of training, it can be done. So they said, once we go solve this problem, we can put cameras all over the farm. We can keep track of what they're eating. We can keep track of their health. We can keep track of when they're ready for bacon, right? All that stuff. All that stuff can be done. And now it's a different type of a company, right? Again, you're recasting the problem as an AI problem, and it allows you to think of a company in a very different way. It's not a traditional life insurance company for pigs, right? It's really, or health insurance company for pigs. It's like an AI-powered company that's camerifying all the farms, right? Collecting all this data, then building a platform, right? Because you can attach veterinarians, feed companies, abattoirs, all that kind of stuff on the platform, right? Reimagining this thing. So they actually launched two things. They did one for pigs, and then I met this lady who built the system, an executive, actually a few months ago, and she said, we also did chickens. I can send you the chicken photos too if you want. Like, yeah. All right, so this is one example. Again, recasting problems as AI problems, reimagining business. Second one, this comes from my lab. We published this paper in this journal called JAMA Oncology. And what we did is we crowdsourced a way to do radiation therapy treatment planning. We spent 8 weeks, 50 grand, okay? And our solution was as good, but actually better than all the commercial software, but as good as the average Harvard-trained radiation oncologist, okay? As good, okay? Importantly, not importantly, side note, footnote, I'm the second last author on this paper, which gives me some prestige or something. And if the kids can just close their ears, I got a C in biology in 10th grade. I got a C in biology in 10th grade. It was terrible. I said, never again am I going to touch biology. I did chemistry in first year undergrad of engineering. It was terrible at chemistry as well. Okay, this biology, chemistry, not my thing. I'm just going to do electrical engineering and computer stuff, right? And here I am, never touched biology since that time, a co-author on this paper in the leading cancer journal in the world, right? Talking about AI applications for radiation therapy planning, okay? The cost to innovate with AI have dropped, right? We recast problems, cost to innovate has dropped, okay? So that's the trend we're looking at, okay? So now let's put this into context. One of my favorite firms comes out of China. They've done the most in many ways in terms of really reimagining what a capitalist company can do. Many of you might have heard of this company called Ant Group, Ant Financial, right? This is the perfect, exponential growth you want to see in a company, right? Flat for a while, and then boom, grows up. Lots of products and services. 1.2 billion users, okay? 1.2 billion users. Now, here's your first audience interactive point. Imagine your company was serving 1.2 billion users. How many employees would you need in your organization? How many people would you need in your organization and this current structure to serve 1.2 billion users? Okay? Who wants to be the first victim? Oh, Graham. Graham, you got called down.
1.2 billion users. We would need several hundred thousand.
Several hundred thousand. Yeah. Okay, great. Others? 1.2 billion users. Anybody else? Anybody else who's brave? Nobody's brave? 5 million? 5 million. Great. Yeah. So these guys have 10,000 employees. 10,000 employees. Right? It's a different company than what we're used to thinking about. Okay? You have to have AI and algorithms and data at the core to be able to do that. One amazing metric they have is 310. Okay? 3 minutes to apply for something, 1 minute for approval, 0 human intervention. 310. At a scale of 1.2 billion users. 310. I've been here in the US since 1997. I moved from Canada. I've had the same bank, got it at MIT, in Central Square. They've gone through many transitions, right? They keep asking me every time they transition, like, we need you to come in and do a signature card, sir. I'm like, okay. They're also 310, but it's like 3 months to apply for something, 1 month for approval, and 0 automation. Many of you guys probably work in that bank. I'm not naming names, right? Very different beast, okay? So again, we want to start thinking about this, like, okay, imagine what they're doing in their business model and operating model. The first thing to note is that their app is super weird. Everything happens on the app, but it's super weird, right? Because not only do they do banking, but they also do like gasoline and mobile top-up and tracking your packages and ordering the thing. You're like, what? Why? What's the ROI on tracking packages in a banking app? So when we ask them that question, they go, look, no, you don't understand. We're not a bank. We're not even a fintech. We're a FinLife company. We want to be wherever people spend money, and we want that data. Right? So we're in the flow of money business, not in the stock of money business. And our power is to be able to imagine all the use cases that the money is being used at and make it available on our app. And then that data allows us to basically then be so good. Okay? So their whole model is such that they're thinking a lot about the business value creation that they're doing for their customers. And on this dimension, what we see is that there's 3 vectors now. Right? When you guys were on campus, we talked mostly about the left side, product value. Okay? Well, how good is the product? How well does it work? The finish, blah, 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 the functionality, right? But what also matters now is the network value, the ecosystem value, right? Network effects, but also the data value. So these 2 dimensions have become super critical, and that's how Ant thinks about the world, right? Their value creation is about product, network, data, right? That's what matters. Okay, and so then when we think about the operating model, which is near and dear to my heart because, of course, strategy guys can talk strategy all they want, but if you can't deliver value, good luck, right? We want to think about scale, scope, and learning. And at Ant, it's a very different architecture of their data, very different architecture of their enterprise, right? Different set of capabilities, different set of technology assets. And these differences are salient, and I'll show you some data about why that matters, okay? And most of us are living on the left-hand side. At Ant, right, the idea is that you basically remove human bottlenecks and you substitute with machines, okay, and AI, right? And this quote from Satya Nadella predates all the Gen AI stuff he's been doing now. Is really about AI is the near runtime that's going to shape all that we do, okay? And the idea is if you substitute technology and processes driven by technology instead of by people, then you're approaching 0 marginal costs, right? Just think about, when you search on Google and there's an auction, there's no humans doing the auctions. When you are getting a recommendation for your Spotify playlist, there's no humans giving you that, right? That allows them to go scale in this way. Humans are around designing the systems, but not at the core doing the work, right? And the logic here basically is the more data you get, the better algorithms you build, the better algorithms you build, the better service you have, the better service you have, the more usage, and so on and so forth. That's the flywheel you want to be in. And that's what these companies do really well, especially Ant. Okay, but the core part, though, of Ant is what we call an AI factory, okay? The AI factory is what systematizes analysis and prediction at scale. Okay? Most organizations have lots of investments in AI and analytics and so on and so forth, but they're mostly craft-based organizations, right? They're organized as craftsmen, delicate models. You want data, okay, meeting to get access to the data in the company. Oh, let's get the lawyers in because we don't know, right? Happens all the time, even here, right? Meeting for data, right? So you've hired these high-powered MIT, Harvard, Caltech, Stanford PhDs in AI, and all they're doing is spending time is on meetings and on Slack, right? And on phones and more meetings, trying to negotiate access to data, okay? These guys industrialize the data process. At Ant, there's only 500 AI engineers. The rest is all data engineering, okay? Right? And so what I often see in companies that want to do AI, they basically focus on algorithms, but not on data, right? It should be flipped around, right? The optimal ratio is 5 data engineers to 1 AI engineer. Typically it's the other way around, 1 data engineer to 5 AI people, right? And it's not going to work. It's not going to scale. Now, what does an AI factory do? If you start thinking about industrializing the process, the AI factory does 3 Ps, okay? Predictions, pattern recognition, process automation. That's what the AI factory does, and does it at scale. Imagine your company as a set of predictions. Imagine your company as a set of pattern recognition activities, right? Consumer trends, fraud or not, so on and so forth. Predicting price increases, predicting consumer churn, right? And then also processes, right? And these things are industrialized inside the operating core of a company, right? That's what Ant has shown, but that's what all the major tech companies have been able to pull off. And so in traditional operating models, we sort of see the same concerns of scale, scope, and learning, and we learned from many of these organizations how to do this, right? And the solution that was invented in the last century was to basically build a divisional system, right? Be focused, get the thing done, right? The divisional system created a ton of value, right? Our modern built economy has been based on the divisional system. But the problem is that it doesn't scale too well when the demands on the number of users you want, when the demands on the scope you want, when the demands on learning increase, right? You basically have this concave curve that shows up, right? It peters out, right? And you live this, right? Complexity of the operation complexity, administrative costs, just inertia. When we think about companies that are digital first, AI first, they have near zero marginal costs, and they put into play network and learning effects, right? What we talked about before, right? So think about this as a network effect. The value of the product or service increases as more and more users use it, right? But then what AI does is that it supercharges this curve and makes it way more sharper. That's why we're sort of seeing these crazy valuations. That's why we're seeing this crazy scaling come through. And so then you remove the traditional constraints. Scale is about zero marginal costs and network effects. Scope is about modularity across markets, right? And learning is constant through ML and AI. And this leads to collision. This leads to collision between 2 distinctive models, right? The one that can scale exponentially and the one that has convexity, concavity in this way, all right? And by the way, this picture is also the picture of our lives from 2020 to 2022 and a half or something, right? An exponential disease process called COVID, exponential, right? That's why we had to do social distancing so that we wouldn't infect each other, okay? With fixed hospital capacity. So the whole world learned about the dangers of AI, not AI systems, the danger of exponential systems. It's just that this has been happening over and over again in a range of industries as well, right? And so what we see is that my dear colleague talked a lot about disruption, and that's still going on, but we also talk about collision. You have collision of business models and operating models, right? And you basically have a concave system with a convex system colliding, and then once a system achieves exponential growth stage, it's really hard for us to pull that back. Now, lots of failure, right? And what happens is that if you're on the blue line, you're sitting there and you're going, why would I invest in the digital business? It's low value, low value, low value, low value until the collision happens, right? You've seen this picture before, over and over again. And so that's the story of collision that we see in the age of AI. And of course, the AI-first companies like Moderna, Stefan Bancel, alum from our school, as the CEO, basically was able to launch the drug, right, in weeks. In weeks. The actual time to design the COVID vaccine was 4 hours. The rest was just testing and safety. And 4 hours, right? Because they thought about mRNA as digital instructions for the body. Okay? Now, this is where the kids will come in. Xian, I want to say it? Yes? All right. So my daughter introduced me to this, and I'm like stunned. Does anybody want to? Does a child of your kid? You want to explain Xian? Yeah, let's get into. These guys don't have a clue. You have to. You know Xian? Oh, I'm sorry. Drop some science on them. Like, just tell them a little bit. Like, what is it?
Yeah, she's like.
Ray, not you, your son.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, you can translate for him.
Yeah, so she's a AI-generated design company, which also connects with the influencers and the audience through social network.
Yes, so it's a fast fashion company. Get the app and try it. It's crazy. Here's what it does. Okay, 1 to 2 million new clothing designs per year. Translates to 4,000 new SKUs per day. 4,000 new SKUs per day get launched. Okay? The traditional fast fashion, Uniqlo, H&M, Zara, right? 20,000, 40,000 SKUs, right? Order of magnitude, several orders of magnitude difference. Okay? Time from design to product, 3 to 5 days, right? 14 to 60 days. Minimum order size, less than 100 versus about 10,000 and up. Very different economics, okay? It's a two-sided platform, as Ray said, right? On the one hand, you accumulate customers, you create a very social environment, digital marketing, trend-based, lots of engagement on the platform, okay? But then on the other side are 6,000 small and medium-sized manufacturers in China that can make stuff to spec, okay? So their ability to say, let's go get a shirt designed, right? Using AI for design the shirt, get the shirt designed and manufactured, put it on the product spec, see if there's a signal, if people care about it. People care about it, let's go make some more. Okay? And that's the magic, done at that scale, right? Now, big controversy about them, environmental footprint, is it all junk, blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna, it matters, we'll talk about ethics later, but I just wanna sort of show you the art of the possible, right? Art of the possible, and the thing to note is, right, for 20 years, we said, oh, the Google lessons, the Facebook lessons don't apply to us. We're so special. We're dealing in the world of atoms. They are all in the world of digital. Well, guess what, right? Moderna showed us what to do with biomedicine. Same processes, same investments in digital and AI, right? And then Xian has shown us to do this in fast fashion, okay? And they've basically said, we take away silos, we create a software stack for our manufacturers, we have a software stack for our customer side, and then that's how we go to business. This is, again, William Gibson. This is living in the future now, right? I was talking to somebody who's high up in Alibaba, and they're in Europe and so forth, and the European regulators were saying, like, which European companies are you worried about? And he goes, I'm not worried about any European company. I care about Shein and Temu and those guys, European companies. They can't match our scale, right? And so there's like almost this divide showing up, right? There's the rest of us that are sort of still puddling along in the ways we've always worked, and then these types of companies emerging, doing crazy things. Okay, of course, AI-first companies are facing backlash, right? Lots of problems. My favorite is what happened with Zillow. They forgot economics and adverse selection. Their algorithms run wild, so they're not without fault. Okay, and then of course, all of us in incumbent companies also face lots of problems. Okay, problems galore. And probably the hardest chapter we wrote in our book was this chapter around the ethics of digital scale, scope, and learning. Because we thought we're business school professors, like ethics and so forth is a different department, right? Or you go across the river to talk to philosophers. No, but what we realized is that no. This is now becoming a core part of the. If you imagine what we showed you in terms of exponential scaling of all the benefits, we can also exponentially scale the harm very quickly, right? So then the responsibility to think about ethics is upfront in the design of the business and the design of the systems, not after the fact with the OGC, right? If the General Counsel gets involved, it's too late. Right? And I want to harken back to Toyota production system, guys, right? Yeah. TPS. Remember, no quality department in TPS. Quality was built in. Ethics have to be built into your processes today. You need to understand how algorithms will go wrong. You need to understand the needs for transparency, the need for the bias can creep in, like the bias we saw in the dudes being showed in the HBS side of things. Okay? And so that's the world that we have. And of course, even Ant Group, right, got declawed because Jack Ma, who's now hiding, I think, somewhere in Japan, pissed off Xi Jinping and told him that the regulators were stupid. Right, 2 weeks before the biggest IPO in the history of IPOs, right, and the state said, "We'll show you who Dad is," and made that work. So many of us are leading these transformation journeys inside our organization, but we know it's not easy, right? It's not easy. Transformation has many definitions. Most of them sort of are focused on what I sort of see as dramatic change in form or appearance. My preference is to actually move away from that definition. And my clicker just, there we go. There's a biological one, biology, I don't know. Okay, let's move on. Physics, a nuclear process. I like the mathematics definition, right? A process by which one figure, expression, or function is converted into another that's equivalent in some important respect, but is differently expressed or represented. Transformation is about keeping your core, your mission, your values, your process, your perspectives on customer value, but then doing it in a very different way. Okay? And so if you believe this, we see lots of companies are investing in trying to do digital transformation. Even you saw our dean is going crazy about it. I'm really happy that he's doing it. And there's some important lessons here. This is work that Marco, my colleague, did with Microsoft. We did a study of large public companies and did a big interview study and survey of what they were doing in digital transformation. Here's what we saw. Here's what Marco saw. The two factors are causally related to returns between the ones that are doing really good versus doing really bad. The technical architecture and the processes that enable them. Okay? Those are the two factors that basically drive the difference between winners and losers in the ones that invest in digital transformation and make it work. And we've done all the econometric tricks to be able to go get at that as a causal arrow. Okay? And what it looks like is when we did the analysis, the laggards look like this. They're behind in terms of returns compared to the leaders and also the total enterprise value growth. Their systems look like this. Are these familiar to you? Yeah. Okay. So this is the work. But by the way, this is not just an architecture diagram of the system. This is also the organizational diagram as well. Right? And all of these intersections are all the meetings that keep happening over and over again. Right? There's lots of entropy here. Okay? And the leaders look like this. Right? And what's nice about this data is that we're not actually even sampling on the crazy tech firms. We're looking at existing firms that are driving the transformation. So we see return value, and we see a causal relationship between changing your architecture, your technological architecture, and your organizational architecture and your processes. And the ratio, I feel, is like 30-70. 30% of the work is heavy lifting and technology. 70% is all, unfortunately, lead. Right? It's all OB. It's all change management and process management. 70%. Again, as a Tom professor, I'm sad, right? I've got you the most brilliant thing, fix it. But no. Like apparently, people matter, and we gotta get the people behind this. I don't understand. But anyway, so these are some interesting data for us. But here's the thing I want to sort of show you to really bring this point home. These are two images of cities you know. You spent a bunch of time here in Boston. When you went to downtown, you were always lost, even with GPS, right? And then there's Manhattan, right? And the graphs at the right of the maps are actually a scientific measure of entropy of the street. So this is why academia is so cool. Some nerd somewhere decided to go up and measure entropy of streets, right? And then wrote a paper about it, and I'm using that paper right now. Okay, so what happened? So as you know, these are all cow paths, right? Boston cow paths. And what happened was asphalt got invented, and we just poured asphalt down our cow paths. Okay, that's what we did. Manhattan, Philadelphia, Paris said, no. New technology, asphalt, cars are coming, right? We're going to create a grid system. Okay? And you can see the difference in entropy. Here's the story, guys. In most organizations, our processes look like Boston, and then what we're doing is we're pouring digital and AI concrete all over them. That's what we're doing, right? We don't change our processes, right? We just just throw it. And then people go, I was in a pharma R&D meeting a few weeks ago. They're like, yeah, we keep investing in technology and it doesn't pay off. I go, yeah, you're in Boston. You're not changing, you're not actually having the guts to change your processes, right? How you get work done is very different with technology than when it's not. And so that's the world that you need to be thinking about. Change the processes as much as you invest in the technology. Okay. ChatGPT. Let's bring this home. Okay. So stand up. We've been sitting for a while. Stand up if you use ChatGPT. At least once. Okay. Okay. Sit down. Okay. Now stand up. If you think that ChatGPT is going to change your function, your job, your industry. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. One more. One more. Stand up if you have no clue how this thing works. Be honest. Otherwise, I'm cold calling you guys. All right. So, my sense of what's happening with ChatGPT, and we'll put this in, is that what happens when the cost and price of knowledge work drops and quality also increases. I showed you with the Rembrandt thing one example, right? But again, we can apply economics to this. And so I asked Midjourney to create images of the HBS campus 100 years from now, making it look futuristic. Came up with some good, interesting ideas. But let's flip it. Let's actually apply it specifically. And again, we're going to do some demos. It's always worrisome when we do demos. We're going to do some demos about how this would impact us. Okay. So I wrote this case on Moderna. Just as the vaccine was coming out. So what I've done is I have uploaded the case onto ChatGPT. It's probably illegal, but I don't know. Okay. So it's uploaded, and then my first prompt is, can you please summarize this case for us? Okay, let's see if it works. Hopefully it hasn't timed out. All right. Okay. So Now imagine you're back at HBS, and now you have the superpower. I know by the time you guys were in EC, case reading was, marginal at best. So anyway, so okay, if I'm a student, I go, okay, cool. So I'm an MBA student at Harvard. I have a background in computer science. Please help me come up with 5 comments I could make in the class to make me look super smart with the professor and raise my profile with my fellow students. All right, let's see what it does. Do you see why we're having an oh crap moment right now? This thing knows our case method. Like, we haven't trained it to know our case method. It knows our case method. All right, let's go further a bit. Let's do the finance bro. I'm just going to take the same prompt, if I can. Okay. And background in investment banking and private equity. Okay. Help me. I have not had time to read the case. So please come up with comments that will provoke debate. It's always, I value comments from students that provoke debate. Like, oh yeah, it's good. Lots of things on. All right. Absolutely, it's so nice. So nice. It's like, oh wow. All right. Let's do this. The decision. I read the first paragraph, right? The decision in the case is to I can't read right. In the case is to spin out the vaccine business. Can you give me 3 2x2s frameworks to help me make the decision? Also, please explain the axes and why they matter. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, this is the case I wrote. Okay, great. Can you populate? Oh, I would say please. It's always nice. It's always good to be nice to your AI. you know, I don't know, when they become strong and they have your memory of your interactions. So be nice to your AI. Can you please populate the 2x2s with the choices in the case and justify its positioning. Pretty darn good, right? Okay, so here's my question to you while this is doing. And then I can also use this to create new cases. Super easy. I can point it to a Wall Street Journal article, take 2 hours, and have an awesome case done with just the article and so forth. Here's my question to you. Should we allow students access to the superpower? Okay. All of you against, please raise your hand. 1, 2. So, sir, can you explain why? Yeah.
So the earlier.
No, so you're saying no. Are you saying no or yes?
Oh no, I say yes.
Oh no, I want the people that said no. People that said no. That gentleman back there. Right here. Oh no. With the tie.
Well, the student will not really get much out of the case. He will just go into class and do whatever Chet said.
Yeah.
And he will not learn.
Yeah.
Just how to.
It's a real risk, right? Like that they would just basically. If I was a lazy student throughout my career, even as a PhD student. Wow.
Nobody has to think about the case and get his own ideas about it.
Yeah. Others that are sort of like really worried about this being used. There's a little bit of age bias here, so I'm a bit worried. But you guys look very young, so it's okay.
55 years ago, our study group was the equivalent of this product. So we spent an hour and a half every night talking about the 3 cases for the next day. And I got information from 5 other guys.
Yes. They were all guys at the time too.
There were two women in our class, one of whom I think is here somewhere.
Oh, great. Okay.
But at any rate, same process. Now, the 5 other guys probably weren't as smart as this thing.
Yeah.
But it's
so don't you want this then in your room?
It certainly helped prepare me for the case, so I don't see any more harm in doing this.
Okay. All right. All right. There's a hand back there. The lady over there.
So I'm going to take the classic HBS hybrid answer, which is
I want both.
Okay, so here's the full answer, but I think it's 2 parts, which is at the start, I think it fundamentally goes against the ethos of curiosity and learning and actually voicing your opinion and potentially being wrong, but provoking that debate. Where I think this actually could be helpful is after you have the class, then you can say, oh, what does the bot actually think? And I think in the long run, why it's dangerous is because you can come down to an intellectual conformity, right? Like these are all very smart answers, but if everyone has the same answer, then where's the ingenuity and the whole ethos of the case study method to try to tease out those extraneous thoughts that can provoke really interesting conversation?
Yeah. So what should we do? Sorry, keep the mic. I have a question for you. What should we do? Like, should we ban this? Like, just like tell the students?
Well, that's why I was taking the classic bridge approach, which was I think
but do you think students would really say, "Yeah, Grandpa, sure"? Like,
no,
okay.
Of course not. They're HBS
I'm gonna
students.
wait till after
you guys are screwed. Thank God I'm old.
Yeah.
But I think where it's helpful, genuinely, is ex post facto, perhaps in the last portion of class, and then you can say, okay, if you take the kind of, not that HBS students would abide to this, but like a pseudo business school Hippocratic oath, where you're like, you cannot
if your future selves aren't going to do this, then we're screwed, right? You just said like the students aren't going to follow.
Some of us would, some of us wouldn't. I'm just.
So then are we going to create a divide between those that have the technology and know how to use it versus those that do?
No, I don't. I think it's pretty easy to use.
Yes.
Right. So I think.
So should we have a prompt engineering class at the beginning of MBA? Here's how to ask questions of ChatGPT.
Oh God.
But do you see the problem we're in? Do you see the problem we're in? This is like an existential question to us now, right? And we're working like mad to try to figure out how to answer that. There's a hand, but you see, like it's like I woke up and I'm like, we are, bleeped, right?
So I'm interested in this notion of hallucinations and
Yes.
Just when the technology makes stuff up.
Yes.
Because I also think that would be interesting to come to class, not having read the case, and talking about things that are.
Yeah, it'd be good for me. I can give the threes that way. Like it's awesome.
Yeah. I
give threes, right? I have to give threes. Yeah, no, I think look, this is the crisis we're in. Literally, it's the crisis. I'm a bit of an alarmist about this. Like this is like a COVID level crisis. If you think about it, fundamentally, this is a COVID. By the way, your kids are already using it to answer their homework questions, right? So that ship has already sailed. And so let's ask ChatGPT to use ChatGPT for their case preparation homework. Please provide pros and cons and rank your answers. Why not? Okay. Can you evaluate the above from the perspective of current MBA students? You get the point, right? So again, this is something that we're actually right now trying to figure out what to do, and stay tuned. I am also very excited to find out. Okay, so let me put this into a broader context. I lost the video. Oh, here we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so here's what it means. Imagine a skills distribution that's normally distributed, right? Right side is the people that are super smart. We think that all of us are on the right tail, right? And then there's a left tail. The question is, how does AI impact this distribution, okay? Conventional economic analysis was that the left tail is screwed, right? The repetitive, boring jobs are going to be done by AI, and it's game over for them. I think something interesting is going on, especially with knowledge work. Because now what you can imagine is that the whole distribution shifts to the right and gets narrowed, right? So I was talking to David Otter at MIT, he's an economist there, and we're exchanging thoughts. I'm running some experiments about this in a couple of companies, consulting companies and so forth, around this. And what we are seeing is actually something very interesting. So what David said was, look at healthcare workers, right? Nurse practitioners, right? There's a study that just came out a month ago that showed that ChatGPT is better accuracy than doctors and more empathy than doctors. Better accuracy and, right? Because like if you see this distribution, what do you call the person who graduates the last of their medical school? Doctor, right? So now all of a sudden, nurse practitioners could use this tool and be really good, right? Think of the law firms. Paralegals, same thing. So we're seeing this shift happen, and this is actually kind of amazing. And then let me put this into context for us. Look, we have the start of this crazy world was this logo, Mosaic browser. Okay, Mosaic browser basically showed us what happens when the cost of information distribution goes to zero. Okay, What happens when the cost of information distribution goes to zero, right? And then you got Google and Baidu and the internet age come out from that, right? And there's a 5-year difference between the browser being invented and Google being invented and everything else that came through. Okay? Napster, remember that? Some of you still have illegal music, Ray, sitting in your servers, right? Now on Amazon, right? What did Napster do? Lowered the cost of music distribution, unbundled the album, right? iTunes and Spotify come out, okay? Lowering the cost, unbundling. iPhone, what did iPhone do? It lowered the cost of programming and distribution of programming, and then we got TikTok. So if you believe what I'm saying, the question is, what happens when the cost of cognition and creativity goes to zero? What kind of companies we formed? What does that look like? Okay? And so for you guys, you should think about AI as a co-pilot, right? Super smart co-pilot, never gets mad at you, right? You can, available 24/7, you can ask it as many questions as you want, change your mind, it doesn't matter. Like, I wish my RAs were like that, right? Like, or my doctor was like, no, this is a bad idea, now go back, right? But you're the captain, and the captain is responsible for the co-pilot. The co-pilot can go crazy sometimes, hallucinate sometimes. You guys have to be able to take care of that. So immediately, like, that's the way to think about it, but start to use it every day. Push yourself to use it, and it's an acquired skill, right? It requires practice. Here's the thing. There are 2 responses right now that I see with executives. The left side is what happened with the internet. Barnes & Noble and Borders said, internet, yes, e-commerce, new division, bolt on. Amazon, I'm going to rethink my entire business. I'm going to rethink retail, rechange the process. And so today, I see most executives in incumbent companies are the left side. Oh, yeah, we'll just bolt this on. Or it's cute. It's cute, whatever, right? Not realizing what this can do, right? And then when they do it, it's a bolt-on instead of saying, does it give me the opportunity to rethink? And I think that's the big challenge for incumbent companies in this space. Okay, so I'm over time, so I'm just going to share with you, we've got this great institute. It's incredible. We're doing cool things. We've got lots of labs. We've got all these cool labs. I have no time. Anyway, we got like labs on fintech, crypto, Web3. That still matters apparently. Lish and AI, data science, right? Reskilling, value, trustworthy AI, digital emotion. You name it. We got amazing labs, amazing faculty working with us, both from HBS and also from the engineering school and from the medical school. A great set of initial faculty. We're going to be growing our labs over time. We're basically trying to build a Broad Institute model for research here at HBS. Okay? And some insights. I like this really amazing paper. She showed you can do market research without the market. Using large language models, you can basically replicate and get economically sufficient answers from ChatGPT. 3.5. Right? Great paper. I'll send you a link so you can get this paper later. Okay? We had 2 of our executive fellows really focus a lot on what it means for startups, right? And again, they're showing that AI startups are seeing 50% higher top-line revenue than their peers, and then talks a lot about what you need in terms of the teams as well. Join our community, okay, for D-Cubed. Left-hand side is a mailing list. We have a ton of outreach to alums. We run case studies virtually. We run, 2-day training sessions, blah, 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 blah. Lots going on. Left side is the mailing list. Right side is, if you're interested in generative AI, we have a Discord set up, right? And on June 8th, we have our first live session talking about how these models work. On Zoom, you can join in for free and participate, okay? So both of these are available. And then to get in touch with me, you can ping me here. And then I'm late by 4 minutes. I apologize. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you.